I guess it's the idea of like, what a superhero does, like any of us, like it's not about how many times we get knocked down. It's about how many times we get back up and how we don't give up and we keep striving and persevering. And I think that hopefully is something that people can relate to because he doesn't have superpowers. Superman's invincible. He's not.
Well, first of all, it is really an honor to speak with you. I've been a huge fan of John Henry Irons since season 1. I still remember the night where they was like, no, he's not Captain Luthor. He's John Henry Irons. And I'm still losing my mind over it. So first of all, where you were talking about this off air, you have 1 month left of Superman Lois left to film. So like, are you guys closing in on the finale, basically?
We are. We actually start the second to last episode tomorrow. Episode 12. We're doing 13 episodes this season. So we start episode 12 tomorrow, and then we'll close it out. I think March 13th, 14th. That's still to be determined. But it's just crazy. It's like 3 seasons down. It's so weird.
How has it now been? You've been on the show for 3 years now. How has it been working on the show and kind of getting deeper into all DC-ness of it all?
I know that the DC-ness of it all. I know, as opposed to the Marvel-ness of it all. No. It's pretty cool. I mean, for me, it's weird. Like I guess out of the cast, I'm the one with the most comic knowledge because I read this stuff growing up. Like, I always tell people like I read The Death of Superman. Like I'm a huge fan of like, what is it? The Bruce Timm verse or whatever they call like Batman, the animated series and like Superman the animated series and Justice League. Like I'm the one who knows the most out of everyone. So for me, it's like I kind of read the scripts and kind of like to play along and figure out what's happening and what's coming up. So it's just cool. I mean, I'll admit, like, look, season 1, it was all like, oh my God, this is so new and this is so unique. Now it's more like, okay, like I know what's going on. I know what world we're in. So like, how do I make it work? Like, where's the character going and stuff like that. But dude, it's still cool. I mean, like I forget sometimes I'm on a comic book show and I'm playing a character who I read as a kid. Yeah. So it's good.
I love that you're a big Bruce Timm fan because I grew up on those shows as well. And
yes.
Still iconic to this day. So, no, you were talking about that. Something it's easy to forget you're on a comic book show because I feel this show puts John through a lot of seriousness. Like I don't know how many times he's been to the hospital, knocked out, having emotional trauma. Do we kind of move a little bit away from that from this season? Like, does John get to have a little bit more fun this year?
Andy, that's a great question. I would love to say that he's going to have a lot more fun. It's not. Here's the reason why, though. Because at the end of season 2, we found that Bruno Manheim is the one who killed the John Henry of this Earth. So obviously we're going to have a lot of confrontation with that and a lot of digging up the past and all that stuff. So yeah, like I'll say this, the season's going to start off really happy, really well. But then when Bruno and John start going at it, it's going to go a little dark. I definitely, he just is an intense guy. I'm just like, except that he's intense. So maybe season 4, he's going to be happy.
Yeah, no, because I was rewatching some old episodes and I'm like, man, this show doesn't give him a break. Like, Natalie is like, having to see her father, like, again, in a coma or like, having to help him with his bruises. So I'm like, come on, like, let him, like, I don't know, have a drink, go meet a girlfriend or something.
I know, but here's what was nice though. Like they had season 2, we got to see Clark and John start bonding more. You know what I mean? Because the whole idea was that he's finally accepted that this Superman is not the Superman of his world. It's about letting go of resentment, letting go of the past. And so I did want to infuse some of that into the story and see he's like trying to lighten up and loosen up a little bit and find a way to accept what happened and move on. Of course, look, it is a superhero show, so we're going to get into conflict. And it's just funny because because I will say there are times where I'm doing these fights and I'm like, he's not Superman. He's just a man, who has a suit and he's really smart. So when he's not in the suit, when he's getting beaten up all these ways, like, I don't know how well he's going to survive all this. And they're like, he just keeps getting back up. But I guess that's the idea of what a superhero does, like any of us, like it's not about how many times we get knocked down. It's about how many times we get back up. And how we don't give up and we keep striving and persevering. And I think that hopefully is something that people can relate to because he doesn't have superpowers. Superman's invincible. He's not.
You were talking about Bruno Manheim, which, again, I mean, I can't wait to see what Chad Coleman's going to do with that. I know you probably can't say too much, but how has it been working with him and what should we expect between Bruno and John this season?
Yeah, Chad, I love Chad. So I had met Chad when we did All American together. more than a couple of years ago, I guess. I don't know, like post-COVID time has no meaning. But yeah, we worked together, so we already had a relationship. But this is much more deep and much more in depth. Like in that show, our characters didn't really overlap. We just saw each other on set and talked a lot. Whereas in this one, yeah, like it's interesting because Chad's so intense. Like I mean, Bruno is like very intense guy. I mean, if this is a guy who actually, I was about to give something away. So I was saying, this is a guy, you know, who's running an empire. We'll just say that he's running an empire, and you know, and doing really very well at it. So you don't get to that level if you don't kind of take some risk and crack some skulls, basically. So yeah, there's definitely gonna be a lot of fireworks between them, a lot of history. I think what's going to be interesting is Bruno knows John, but John doesn't know Bruno. You know, so that kind of puts Bruno at an advantage. And what you're going to find out is John's going to realize that like Bruno knows even more than he even thinks. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that works out and plays out, because John's going to have to kind of play catch up, you know. And so yeah, it's going to be interesting season to see how these two go back and forth. We come to blows a lot. I'll just tell you that there's a lot of intensity happening. That's
something I've always been fascinated about with your character is that, you know, you're playing someone who has a doppelganger, who had all this history that we've never really gone much into before he got killed. Has Todd Helping ever like given you kind of like a little like one-on-one on here's what this John was up to before he died, or do you have like your own headcanon of what his life was like?
It's kind of both. I mean, yeah, I definitely know some idea about what this John has been up to. We flesh out some more of it. You know, like we definitely get into some more history of John, which is going to be cool for me in this season, is that you get to see more of that side. You get to sort of merge the two worlds, you know, and that's going to be really great. But again, that's why I talk about how Bruno is going to come in, because he knows more about that. He knows this side. So yeah, some of it I make up in my own mind, and to be honest, some of it changes as time goes by, because there's an idea of something before. Like this is just the nature of TV, you know. Like you have an idea maybe one day, and then like 2 years later, you're like, oh, but what if it's this? You know what I mean? Because that has more depth. That can play more interestingly. So it's been fascinating kind of to delve into that, and to try to not have John's mistakes of this, my version of John, not to have him impede on whatever life or mistakes or whatever things that this John made, and find a way to navigate those worlds.
Yeah, no, I mean, does that mean we might even see some flashbacks maybe?
I would love to see some flashbacks. We'll see. I will say we definitely learn more about this John. And we'll see some people who I think are going to be very cool, and for at least from John's world, from this world.
Because it just came to my mind. In this world, did this John maybe have a history with Lex Luthor? Because we know he's coming this season.
He's going to be very, very intense. It's a darker version of Lex Luthor, something a lot more grittier than I've seen before, and I really like it. But I'm sure that they have a history. But again, it'll be one of the things where it's like, John has a history on his world with Lex. I mean, we already know that from season 1 that he worked with him. I'd be curious to find out, which I don't know exactly what the history between this Lex and John was. So I'm curious to find out.
Well, you were talking about you being a big comic book fan yourself. Like in between seasons, do you kind of go and dive into Steele's history in DC and kind of go, oh, I wish we could do that on the show, and maybe go to the writer like, hey, I have some ideas.
I do. I definitely like. There have been times. Well, what I tend to do is I'm the reader of the cast. I don't like to know the storyline before we start shooting. Like the way it works is, you know, like Todd Helping and Brent, who are our co-showrunners, like, you know, like they'll sit everyone down and be like, okay, hey guys, this is what we're planning to do for your arc for this season. I'm always say, look, only tell me what I need to know. If I don't need to know it, because I like to be surprised. So what I then will do is, like, if something comes up, I start texting Todd and be like, hey, is this going to mean this? Is this going to be this or whatever? Like, you know, like, is this what this happens? And for me, it's fun because as a fan, like I'm truly a fan of the show. Even if I wasn't on there, I would be a fan and I get to watch. So yeah, it's just interesting to see all that. And during the breaks, I don't really do much. I've read some comics. Like I know, like I think if I'm correct, doesn't Steele and Superwoman, like Lana, get married at some point in another version, I think?
I'm not sure, but how interesting, because suddenly we have Alana who's, you know, I think she ain't surviving it. So, you know, that's saying.
Listen, but I don't, what is that? Did you call? I'm sorry, I can't answer anything. We'll see. We'll find out what happens.
Because I have to add, as a fan myself, are we getting any closer to Steel finally getting his own cape? Because listen, like that suit is cool, but we need to complete it with a good red cape.
I know. I will tell you, it's coming.
Thank God.
It's coming.
Okay.
It's what I will say, and that's the best semi-answer I'll give you is at some point it's gonna come.
Okay, fair enough. Because that suit looks. I mean, first of all, it looks heavy, but it looks so cool to work at the same time. Has that gotten easier over the last couple of seasons as you do? Because you do a lot of stunts on this show.
I do, and actually you're going to see more, and that's actually kind of the cool part this season, which actually I'm excited about. Like there was a lot of stuff that happens in the suit. I mean, like again, it's cool. Like basically, he's like kind of their version of Iron Man in a way, like just a different version of it. But like actually, my John Henry, the John Henry of the show from the alternate universe who I play, this guy was in the military. He's trained. So there's actually going to be a lot more stunts without the suit this season, which has been kind of cool. And I have stunt people like Dallas who does my stunts when I'm not in the suit, and Steven, who does really, truly the heavy lifting. And you guys like Steven is my stunt double who does all the stuff. When I have a helmet on, 99% of the time, that's not me. And he is like absolutely fantastic at doing that because it's a lot. It is heavy. It's very cumbersome. But it has not gotten. Has it gotten easier? I think you just adapt. That's the best thing. It is. I'm actually going to get into it tomorrow. And it's going to be indoors, and there's a lot of lights, and that suit is very hot. But hey, it's you want to play a superhero. This is what happens.
Also, you have the big hammer. Also, that I'm guessing is, because I don't know if that's a full-on prop or a CGI, but
no. But there's a prop, and there's multiple versions. There's actually kind of like a lighter version, which we can like wield around a little easier. And then there's a heavier one, which is like the golden one, where like it's like, oh, we just need it for the shot to make it look really good. No, there's multiple. Yeah, it's real. And it's big.
No. There was that one scene in season 2 where you were jumping in midair and all the bit pieces were coming in together. I was like, listen, Iron Man has nothing on still. That's one of the coolest sequences I've seen in superhero media. And let me tell you about that. That was so cool that you say that, because like when I read it, I was like, oh, this is really cool reading on the page, but then actually shooting it. Like what was interesting about that. So there was a place we used the quarry a lot. I've seen season 2, and I think in season 1, obviously. Yeah, season 1 as well. And so I had to physically run, do all that, jump off onto a platform, jump off of the platform. And that's how we did that. But then had to do the same thing, replicate it in the green screen back at the studios. So it was a whole process. Like, again, like my character, at least when I work, because like I said, my setup, Steven does most of that. I don't do a ton of green screen work. So that was interesting to see that aspect of it. But it was super cool. I love that effect. Well, I want to talk a little bit about John and Natalie, because I've always loved that father-daughter relationship. And, because again, we know that even if we haven't seen a lot of, we know that these two come from, there's a lot of emotional trauma they've gone through. Where are they going this season, especially now that they're both Steel? They both have their suits. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that was the fascinating thing about last season was like, her being like, look, China asserting her own independence. And basically we're going to see more of that. Because at some point, like, look, I don't have kids, I don't have teenagers. It's nuts to think that I actually can have teenagers, that I'm old enough to do that. But like at some point, like they want to fend for themselves and figure out their own destiny. And especially someone like her who's gone through so much trauma. I mean, like, both of them saw Lois die, that, his wife and her mother of that world, and going through that whole battle between the evil Superman of that world. It's for her to find herself and be like, Dad, I'm not a child anymore. I've been through too much. That was a really interesting arc, and I'm really glad that we got to do that. And I'll tell you, she's going to assert more independence in this season, and she's just going to be a headache. But kids is what they going to do.
The first thing that comes to mind is, how would John deal with Natalie starting to date now at this point? Like, is he, because, I mean, we know how parents be protective that way.
Yes, they are. Yes. I think John he would do the best he could. And this is, again, the other fascinating thing about him, which, I like when they do us on the show, when Taylor and Bitsy get to direct together, because the whole idea, that weird surrogate mother kind of thing, John is now a single dad. And that's not something he's ever had to deal with before. So that might be something where, like, my guess is, like, I feel like the Lois on that Earth was the one who had the more emotional aspect. You know, like he's not the best with that. So to have him play both mom and dad on the show, that's gonna be interesting to see how that comes around.
Speaking of that other world, because I always one payoff I'm always hoping for. I don't know if we're gonna see it. Is I want to see John get to take down that evil Superman at some point. Is that something you're hoping for as well? Something that you know if that will ever happen?
100%. I think it would be cool. I mean, it's interesting to see because, like, again, going back to like comic stuff. Do you remember when they did the? Oh my God! Remember when they did? Like, did you watch Justice League and Justice League Unlimited? Do you remember those cartoon shows?
Yeah. Are you going to talk about the Justice Lords?
Yes. I was going to say, like, I would love a Justice Lords thing, like sort of out of nowhere they came in. Like, I remember that comic. Like, I remember that episode where, like, you know, like, was a Doomsday he fights and like he just lobotomizes him and all that. Like, hey,
yeah.
I mean, we have the evil Superman already, so I don't know. Maybe that happens.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like you and I could talk about all these things forever. Because again, I love that you're a fellow nerd. Because I'm like, I know he likes these things, but like I've heard in other interviews he talked about, like, no, yeah, like that. I remember as a kid, just seeing him just was coming. I'm like, can we do it on TV?
I know. I remember all that stuff was so cool. Remember, like the whole idea about like Flash being the key to it, which was so ironic. Like you know, like just losing that. But again, that shows how one incident can change everything. You know what I mean? And it's just that. So yeah. So if it happens, I would love it. I'll just say that.
I got to ask because I'm sure you have been following a little bit about what DC Studios are doing with film and TV and so on. Yes. What are your thoughts on all of that? And like, are you again, because who knows who could get involved? Like, are you hoping to get involved working with James Gunn and Peter Safran?
Look, I would love it. I mean, like, you know, I'm a fan of James Gunn. I watch Peacemaker. Like, I love the Suicide Squad because remember that's like Suicide Squad and the
I know.
I know it's so specific. It's like, which one or whatever. No, I think he's amazing. I mean, like, would I love to? Of course. Like, keep it real. Look, I know probably as much as you know. Like, you know, like this is all very fluid. It's all like everything's happening, but it's not even just DC. It's just the entire, you know, studio landscape right now and all that stuff and network TV. So, yeah, I don't know. I would love to see where something goes. I mean, like, you know, ultimately our show is not going to go forever, of course, just that's the reality of it. They've already announced that, you know, there's going to be a 10-year plan where it's all, you know, like all one unified universe like Marvel. So, you know, I know our show will not go forever. Would I love to still be a part of it? Yeah, like keep it real. Like, dude, the idea of that Green Lantern, Jon Stewart and whatchamacallit, oh, Jesus, what's the other one? Hal Jordan show. Yeah, like a True Detective version of that. Would I be upset if I somehow got to play Jon Stewart? No. I'd be perfectly fine.
I'm not wishing anything bad upon Superman Lois, but let's say if it doesn't come back, I would love to see a Jon Stewart because that's the Green Lantern I grew up with as a kid, and it's time we get our there's a lot of Jon Stewart, Henry Irons, John Diggle, but like yes, because I'm sure fans would murder me if I didn't ask this. Have you guys heard anything about a potential season 4? Or are you guys kind of like how you guys going?
I'm not even like trying to joke around. Literally, we know as much as you guys know. I'm not kidding. Like that is literally how fluid it is right now. Do I think we're going to get another season? Yes. If I had to put money on it, I do think we get one more season at least. But I don't know. Again, it's out of my control. And that's something where I just have to, as a person, just to accept that, look, life is very fluid. I know that I'll be okay regardless. And even if this somehow ends up being the last season, which I don't think it is, but if it does, I'm just happy to have been a part of this process. Like I know, like, you know, we have amazing fans that we truly do. And like, you know, they're great with the show. But for me, you guys don't get to see the day-to-day of us working together. And I was literally on set with a bunch of people yesterday. We had a big like family scene. And like, you know, I was on set with like, I remember it was me, Em, and Tyler, and then Bitsy doing a scene. And I just told him, I was like, you know, I had a moment of self-reflection and saying, guys, I'm just so thankful to get to work with you guys because you guys make this so much fun. And the crew, like who people don't know, that it's just, it's a lot to shoot a show in a different country. You know, it throws you off a little bit. But the friendships I built on the show, I'm so happy for. And our like Todd is amazing. And the writers, like, it's been a really good family unit to work with. And I'm really happy about that.
The biggest credit I can give to you guys is that you guys made this show during a pandemic, which I don't know how anyone could survive that. So, I always have the biggest respect for all the people who work on crew, you guys who work on the cast and the writer and so on. So it's like, I'm hoping it's not the last season. I'm hoping that there's more to come. But if it were not to come and happen, I would say that James Gunn needs to pick up the phone and say, hey, that, Jon Stewart, you have a thing to play Jon. So,
hey, again, your lips to God's ears or whatever. But again, we're going to assume we're going to come back. We're going to hope for that and assume there's going to be another season, which I don't know. There's not me trying to throw you off. I truly have no.
So next time I talk to you, and if we find out if it's been renewed, I'm not going to come and be like, oh, did you know already?
Exactly. I'd be like, ha! I'd be like, I wish I did. I was like, no.
I just like as a fun thing, because I know you said in other interviews that you hadn't seen it yet, but now that you've been 3 seasons in, have you watched a Steel movie?
No. Well, now you make me feel guilty. Now I feel like I have to watch it just to see it.
I mean, for Shaq, it's for Shaq. I would. I mean, I've seen it. It's a movie that exists.
Yes, and it is, and it does, and yay for that. Hey, man, look, Shaq did something. He played the first live action John Henry High.
A lot of Johns.
Everyone's a John. Everyone's a John, and we have Jonathan on the show. So yeah, he did, and that deserves respect. I mean, everyone loves Shaq anyway, regardless of that. But yeah, I've not watched. I'll tell you what. Over the break, I'm gonna promise you this: I will find time to watch the movie.
Okay, because I've always imagined like what. Because that some of these shows sometimes they do like legacy castings and whatnot. Let's say you got Shaq on the show. Like, in a world where that would be possible,
yeah,
would he play John Henry Irons Sr.? Maybe John Henry Irons' father.
I would love that. I would love the idea of. Here's the funny thing I think about Shaq. Shaq is so big and Shaq is so legendary at this point that I think he would just do it for the fun of it. Like, could we afford Shaq? No, but like at this point, like we got that kind of money. But like Shaq probably would do it for free just to be like, hey man. What's up? And just as a weird cameo and to see how huge he is, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, it's always funny when I see him in interviews, and I will see the talk show host there, and then I will see Shaq somewhere up here. So yeah, no, I hear you. What can you tease fans that we haven't already talked about before I let you go about what's coming up in season 3, any new dynamics, and just again, give us something, because these fans are hungry. They are hungry.
I know they're hungry. I know they're hungry. Obviously, yeah, I know. And it's weird because like our show has a lot of plot because we have a lot of characters. I will say, here's a good thing. I will say we're going to start getting a little more integrated as a cast. Meaning sometimes sometimes these people are doing this people are doing this, people are doing that. So we're going to start having a lot more integration, which is really cool. I'm looking forward to that. There's going to be Bruno. I'm just going to say Bruno going to mess up a lot of people. I'm just going to say he's involved. Obviously, Lois has her history with him, and Clark's going to have one as well. But there's going to be a lot of fireworks between Bruno and Jon. I will say that It's very intense. I think Tyler described it one time as saying it's an intense season. I think that's a very apt description.
Yeah, no, when Diggle came by last season, I was like, hey, so no big deal, but I know who your doppelganger's murderer is. You want to go hunt him? And I was like, sure.
I got free time.
Yeah. Like, by the way, do you and Diggle get to finally do more things together? Because every season when he's been on there, he's there for 1 second with you, and I'm like, yo.
I know.
Talk for more than 5 minutes.
I know, but it's the problem. The problem is Dave Ramsey is too high in demand. Like he's doing all this other stuff. I will say, it's cool. Like because I've grown close to David. David's an amazing guy, and I really like him. He comes to direct again. He directs on another episode this season. Which is really cool. Keep it real. You're not going to see him. There's just too many things happening. But I'm sure he'll come back at some point. I mean, I don't know. That's above my pay grade, but I love David. I love getting to work with him, whether it's in front of the camera or behind the camera. He's just really, really good.
Outside of Lois, once you're done with season 3, what do you have coming up in terms of other projects that you can tease about?
No, it's funny. Nothing right now. I mean, actually, I'm starting to audition and go out for some stuff right now because we're winding down. But normally, it takes up such a huge chunk of time that's my primary focus. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I said, since now we got a month left. I'm looking forward to getting involved in something, maybe something a little more light. I don't want to lie, maybe a little. I'm down to do a sitcom for a minute, like stuff just to lighten it up, just to laugh.
Yeah, no, again, I always like every time I see like I rewatch those old seasons, I'm like, come on, give the brother like a moment to like have a drink or meet a girl, like hang out with Clark, or just like I don't know, like
This is fun. I know. It's not a show. We got to get him through stuff. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
well, fingers crossed. Well, it's been an honor chatting with you. I'm hoping this won't be the last time we chat. So, congrats on what is an amazing show, and what you've done with this character is so phenomenal. And I can't wait to see where it all goes. And I'm gonna start manifesting you now as Jon Stewart. You know, because I'm like play all the Johns in the world.
If I play every single Jon, like I don't know what the next Jon after that will be, but I'm down. Just it keeps it easy for me. I just know I'm playing Jon.